Hey lovelies, you're welcome back to Reviews and Recaps. Let's talk about Ready to Love, Make a Move, episode 2. Okay, so as I always do on this channel, I'm going to share some key takeaways of what happened on the episode, and then let's discuss it. In terms of rating this episode, I will probably give it an 8. I think considering it's the second episode, they've managed to pick my attention, and they've managed to just sort of keep me really interested in the season as a whole. I remember when I watched the first episode, I was a bit like, I don't know, I'm going to give it time. But then this second episode has drawn me in quite a bit. So I will give it, I think, an 8. And personally, the reason I will give it an 8 as opposed to something else is I feel like I wish that the matchmaker was doing a little bit more. And there are certain things about the show that I generally feel like for instance, why is it just they only get one date? Why not get the opportunity to go on 2 dates with this person or 3 dates with this person first, before sort of deciding? Because it almost feels like you have that just a few hours to impress that person, and then that's the end of it. So anyways, let's talk about the episode. So the first thing I want to talk about is Zadie and Cameron. So what I noticed about them is that it looks like they had quite a bit in common. They went to the same university together. Also, it seems like they also had the fact that they're both business people and entrepreneurs in common, and it actually seemed like they were starting to build some sort of connection. It was nice to see Zadia enjoying her date, having fun, smiling. I definitely really enjoyed that. Now let's talk about Ashley and Marcus. So Ashley and Marcus went on a bike date, okay? When I tell you that Ashley was struggling to ride that bike, I was like, girl, you okay? Bless her. The thing about it is for people who don't ride bikes regularly, riding a bike is not as easy as everyone sort of tries to make it seem. I haven't ridden a bike, or I haven't ridden? Yeah. I've not been on a bike, okay? English is hard, honey. I've not been on a bike in how long? Years, maybe at least 10 to 14 years. So I'm sure if I get on a bike, I'll probably be riding it like Ashley. It's not as easy as everyone wants to make it seem. But anyways, I was I'm just so glad she didn't fall, because I kept looking girl, you better not fall on the road, on the streets, and hurt yourself. So, but I like Ashley. I like the fact that Ashley just gets on. Even if she doesn't know how to ride a bike or she's not really comfortable, she was just making jokes about it. She was still a good sport. She still went ahead and was I'm gonna do my best and try as much as possible to have fun. And so that's one of the things I like about Ashley on this show. Of course, we can talk about different things, and I feel she does a little bit too much. But in terms of her personality, especially when she's on dates with these people, she generally is open to trying different things. And even if it's not something that isn't within her comfort zone, she just takes it on the chin. I feel a lot of us can learn from that, especially when it comes to dating. For instance, now someone wants to take you somewhere you're not really very keen on, or somewhere you've not been to, or take you on an experience that you've never done before. And just being open to trying different things and seeing, okay, don't knock it until you try it, right? Of course, I'm not saying go do drugs or do something that you're definitely against. But if it's something that is not harmful in any way and, could be part of the experience, then why not? And so, yeah. So that was pretty much what happened with Ashley and Marcus. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the date itself. So they went to a gelato spot, and, she starts fishing for compliments, which she does quite a bit. Not a fan of that. It shows she constantly needs validation. And so I feel that just shows there's a lot of things in there somewhere that she got to work on. But, yeah, I'm sure everyone has their thing. So he starts talking about, he saw her, she was looking so good in yellow. And she's like, I didn't wear yellow. I'm like, oopsie. Turns out Zadia was the one that was wearing yellow. So that went left. But I appreciated the way Ashley was able to still keep the date going. Most people would have shut down in that moment after that happened. But she talked about it and said she wasn't the one wearing yellow and stuff. But she used humor. And even after that, she still carried on the conversation with him. And it seemed like they actually had a good date. They actually had some things in common. They were both in the school system. I think he was an assistant school principal and, she's a speech therapist for kids. And so I feel like that provided at least an opportunity. Or at least there was some sort of similarities or, connection is probably a strong word, but commonality, that's probably a better word between them. Anyways, let's talk about Venetia and Ramon. So Ramon is a former pro basketball player. He was telling Venetia he's very well traveled. He was telling her all the places he's been to. Interestingly enough, Venetia was very keen on traveling. She was talking about she would love to go to Egypt, Bora Bora, Dubai. And she was just mentioning a few places she wanted to be in. So what was interesting about their date was that Venetia asked him how long has it been since he had been in a relationship. Mandem said 2008 and that he was 21. He then talks about the fact that, because he's traveled quite a bit, he doesn't have a lot of experience dating. And I'm like, yeah, Venetia ain't the woman for you. She's a seasoned woman. She's a woman of a particular age looking for a particular type of man. She ain't about to be dating someone who has never really been in a relationship since he was 21. How is she to know that she ain't going to be having to teach you everything as to how to treat her, how to function in a relationship? Is he even able to commit in a relationship? Those are the things that I feel like she's not going to want to sign up for at that stage in her life, right? Let's say she herself was, 22, 23. Maybe she'd be like, okay, he ain't dated much. I can be his first adult relationship, right? But she's too grown for that, right? She is dating with intentions. She wants to be a wife. She does not want to date someone who is not even sure he can hack being in a relationship, right? Because there's no past experience. However, I do have some sympathy for him. And I'll tell you why. Because I think about when you're trying to apply for a job and you don't have any experience and how hard that could be applying for a job. And it's always so hard because it's they're like, oh, we're not picking you because you don't have experience. But you're like, yo, the only way I'm going to get the experience is if you give it to me or if someone gives it to me. So so I get that, right? And I empathize with him on that. But I think, one, he definitely doesn't have the level of maturity that is required to be in a relationship with someone of Venetia's age, stage, life, basically, right? Think about her. She is a grown-ass woman with kids, right? She ain't about to be with a man who may or may not know how to be in a relationship. Why should she want to take that risk when she could find someone who been there, done that, knows exactly what he wants, right? Now, one of the reasons I say that Ramon isn't very, it comes across as immature is he made a comment about, oh, he should have listened to his mama and brought her flowers. I'm like, dude, if you have to wait until your mom tells you to do something, maybe there's a bigger issue there, right? 1. 2, flowers are very, very basic. Why wouldn't you know that, potentially bringing flowers to a date could elevate the experience for your date? So you needed your mom to, tell you this? You as a grown-ass man who wants to date a woman of that particular age and with, at that stage in her life? yeah, that's a bit odd to me. That does not work for me. So yeah, I was a bit so I completely understand why Venetia went ahead to not choose him later on in the day. Now let's talk about Sharice and Maurice. Okay, so Sharice, as you lot know from the last episode, Sharice was not liking Mr. Vest from last episode. She ain't feeling him. She didn't want none of that. She did not want any of that. Okay. So she finally looked and she was like feeling Maurice and whatnot. And what was interesting was their date was interesting. So he organized for flowers to be delivered to her while she was at the restaurant, right? Whilst they were both at the restaurant. And I thought, oh, okay, that's nice. That's a nice, little extra bit to do. Why not? Right? And so then, Maurice, it turns out Maurice has 4 children, right? And the youngest is 21. So they ain't really children. They're like grown, right? And so, of course, Sharice starts talking about, in her confessionals that she wants someone who doesn't have kids and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, this man has 4 grown children. None of them probably live at home, to be fair. So, like, if you're worried about, like, baby mama drama, those people are grown. Like, it ain't really that deep. However, it is her standard. So if that's her standard, it is what it is, right? But let's now talk about when the food came, honey. He was busy eating. I was hearing the plate smacking, the knife, fork hitting the plate. I was like, okay, I do not like that sound. And then she starts asking him certain questions like, oh, have you been here before? He's like, I have. Like 1-word answers, guys. 1-word answers. So she's like trying to make conversations. Maurice was like quiet, too busy enjoying the food, giving her 1-word answers. When she asked him if there was anything he wanted to know about her, he said, well, is there anything you would like to tell me? I'm like, okay. That man couldn't even come up with some questions to ask you. Like, he was just not on it. He just didn't want none of that. And so I'm just like, does not make sense. So I just feel like the connection is non-existent. It comes across as someone who just does not want. He can't be bothered to make the effort, right? Some people are out there, they feel like the fact that they have money is enough, right? They don't have to have a personality. They don't got to do nothing extra. Just use their money to afford them certain experiences, including your time, right? You don't have to work for it. You are the one that does all the work. It's giving like very escort vibes, right? When you're an escort, not that I know, because I've never been an escort, but, I do know someone that has done something sugar baby-ish, right? And the impression I get is when they do those sorts of things, they have to sort of make the conversation. It's almost like you're selling an experience, right? So you're the one that would put in a lot of the effort into having the right conversations or engaging this person because you want him to call you again so that you guys can go out again and you can be his arm candy, right? Now, what it sounds like is he is the guy, right? So not the one paying for the escorts. This is all like fictitious. This is me just explaining what I think, right? And he doesn't have to do much. He's just on there. He's paid for her time. You just come and give me a good time and I'm a head out. That's the impression I got. Let me know if you guys think I'm off on this. Let me know in the comment section below. But yeah, that was the impression I got because he was not putting no effort. She was the one having to drum up all the conversation and keep the conversation going. He was just there like, no, yes. Like, I was like, guy, like, not even like nothing? You can't give her anything more? Like, okay, all right. So then let's move on and talk about what happened with Tamika. So Tamika starts asking about how things are going in the house. I'm like, ma'am, you know exactly how things are going. Stop asking questions you know the answer to. But of course, they're producing a TV show, so of course they have to. So she's like, oh, do you guys have any house rules? Shanice was basically like, she has rules, no guys in the house. And so it came up that apparently the ladies were having a good time. Zadia asked them, like, how do you feel about company coming over? And then everyone else was like, yeah, they were cool with it, didn't really mind. But Sharice basically said no, right? So then, of course, Zadia decided to leave to go speak to her company, right? So apparently now, she woke Sharice up to let her in the next morning, right? And Sharice was basically saying, she feels like there was no sorry, please, or thank you. What was interesting is it felt like the goalpost kept shifting with Sharice, right? Because initially she was like, she was just talking about the rules and then, having to just let her in. But it sounds like she didn't bring up at that stage about the whole, you didn't say sorry, please, or thank you. It just kept coming across like it was like a later point that was brought up, right? So, of course, now they're all arguing, there's a little back and forth. Zadia did not fess up to the fact that she went out. She said she went for a walk in the morning. Now, I understand. Let me think about this as I say it. I understand Zadia feeling like she did not want to fess up. Although I think she's wrong. She should have just said, yes, I went out and so. Like, I can do whatever I want. I am a grown woman. I'm a grown woman. That's literally what Zadia should have said. And just let it go, right? I'm a grown woman. I can do whatever I want. I can do whatever I want. So yeah, that's what she should have done. And just said, you're not my police. You don't police me. I'm a grown woman. I can do whatever I want. And that should have been the end of it, right? There was no need for her to be going back and forth with Tamika or with Shanice about that. There was no need to lie. But anyway, she lied, okay? What I thought was interesting is Sharice was basically trying, in my opinion, to slut shame her. Because why did you keep bringing it up? There was no reason for all of that. You guys have sort of talked about it behind camera, right? So why are you bringing it on camera? And even if you brought it on camera, there's a way to address it as opposed to the way it came across as she was addressing it. And so I didn't like that at all. It's definitely giving walk of shame, because Zadia, of course, did not want to fess up to it as well. And then Sharice was basically talking about she was upset about Zadia waking her up and not saying sorry and this and this. What is interesting is, like, if that was the case, why didn't you bring it up to Zadia in the moment and say, Zadia, I didn't appreciate you doing this. Why didn't you, say sorry or whatever? And she would have apologized. So I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I didn't say sorry, or I didn't apologize. Thank you so much. Right? Like, you not bringing it up at the stage it happened and then later then using it to create a moment is just not cool. Like, say what you want about Zadia. You don't have to like Zadia, but I did not like the way Sharice handled her at all. Now, let's talk quickly about how Sharice decided to pull Cameron to the side, right? It's like, why pull him to the side to then be asking him about, like, oh, so you kept her out late at night, you woke me up. Like, that's so unnecessary. Why are you now coming to this man trying to find out information about her and him and Zadia? Why are you trying to do that? That is so unnecessary. It's so uncalled for. Zadia literally basically went over there and was like, she picked him up like, no, you ain't gonna be talking to this girl. Let's go. And what was interesting was when they were now having the conversation in the kitchen, Sharice made a reference to, you're a mean girl. I'm like, okay, unless we're watching a different show, Sharice, what has Zadia done on this show to you that makes it come across as she's a mean girl? Not one thing. If anything, you look like the mean girl. You are the one that keeps coming for this woman. You are the one that keeps trying to slut shame her because she was out at night talking to this man. right, and kept you up or whatever, right? You're the one that keeps bringing that up. It's like you want to embarrass her for no reason. But you're saying she's the mean girl? Like, dude, look in the mirror. You're the mean girl. Don't get me wrong. You can say what you want about Zadia from the previous seasons or whatever. But in this instance, think about it. Why was she so... Do you know how manipulative it is to then pull Cameron to the side to be talking to him about that? What is the reason? And then to then get in the kitchen and say, oh yeah, myself and Cameron were having such a good conversation. You know, we're talking about this, talking about this, talking about that. It's like you were just poking at her. It was like you wanted a reaction. And that's what you were doing. You're poking at her, poking at her, poking at her. Now, my thing is, I still think Zadia should have just not afforded her and not paid her any mind and say it, whatever. And just let it go. But at the same time, you can't blame someone for responding after poking them constantly and constantly. So, but yeah, let me know what you guys thought of the episode. I really enjoyed it. I really feel like there's a lot to talk about here and there. The one thing I didn't really mention in the recap that I wanted to mention at the end is that I feel like Tamika is not really doing very well as a matchmaker, because I'm just looking at the people that they're being matched with. Like, I'm not really feeling it at all. Also, when Tamika said the reason she matched Venetia with Ramon was Venetia said she liked a tall man. I'm like, so? Just because she likes a tall, is that the only criteria for hooking her up with somebody? Like, there have to be other things, right? Like, so that really rubbed me the wrong way. And, you know, I'm not convinced that she is a proper matchmaker. Because so far the matches ain't working. Okay. So I will say that. But besides that, it was an enjoyable episode. So yeah, I will continue to watch and cover it for you guys. Yeah, so let me know in the comment section what you thought about this episode. Please make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. I'm trying to hit that 1,000 subscriber mark, so please subscribe. Please make sure you share. Also, give this a like. It helps with the algorithm. It helps people find my videos. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you. Love y'all. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.